The year is 1994. Japan spends $20 billion to build an airport on the ocean. Not near the ocean, not beside it, on it. A man-made island, 3 kilometers long, dropped into the middle of Osaka Bay. Engineers call it one of the greatest construction achievements in human history. The world calls it impossible. 30 years later, the island is still sinking. Not crumbling, not cracked. Sinking, slowly, silently, inch by inch, year by year. The ground underneath keeps shifting. The terminal keeps dropping. The systems built to fix the problem are already failing. Japan has spent more than $20 billion. The original estimate was 8. The island was supposed to stop settling in 10 years. It hasn't. The runway is being held up by jacks. The bridge connecting the airport to the mainland has warped so badly that one lane sits a full meter lower than the other. So why is Japan still running flights through an airport that is literally disappearing into the sea? Japan in the 1960s is booming. The economy is growing faster than almost any country on Earth. Factories run around the clock. Exports flood global markets. And right at the center of it all is Osaka, Japan's industrial heart. Osaka needs an airport, a big one, a modern one that can handle the volume of a city that never sleeps. But there is a problem. The existing airport, Itami, sits inside a dense residential neighborhood. Expansion is impossible. Noise complaints are constant. Lawsuits block every proposal. The government debates for years. They argue, they stall, they do nothing. Then someone has an idea. If you cannot build on land, build on water. The proposal is audacious. Reclaim a patch of ocean floor in Osaka Bay. Dredge millions of tons of earth. Drop it into the sea. Compact it. And on top of that artificial island, build a full international airport. The idea solves every problem at once. No noise complaints. The nearest residents are kilometers away. No land acquisition. The island is created from scratch. No lawsuits. There is nothing there to protect. The Japanese government approves the project in 1987. Engineers from around the world are stunned. Some say it cannot be done. The designers hire Italian architect Renzo Piano to design the terminal. The building he creates is breathtaking. A single sweeping curved roof, 1.5 kilometers long, running the full length of the island. It resembles the wing of a massive bird hovering over the ocean. Japan promises the world an airport opening in 1994. On schedule, on budget, a symbol of Japanese precision. Construction begins. Ships carrying millions of cubic meters of reclaimed earth start dumping into the bay. The seabed rises. Engineers celebrate early milestones. The project runs perfectly. No one is looking at what is happening beneath the water. Building the island of Kansai Airport is unlike anything ever attempted. The site is 4 kilometers offshore. The water depth reaches 18 meters. The bay floor is not solid rock. It is layers of soft alluvial clay, sediment deposited over thousands of years by rivers and ocean movement. The engineers know this. They plan for it. The plan is called controlled settlement. You cannot stop a reclaimed island from sinking into soft seabed. The weight of millions of tons of earth and concrete will compress the clay beneath it. Engineers calculate exactly how much it will sink. They build the island higher than needed. When it compresses to the target level, it should stabilize permanently. The math is clean. The confidence is total. Construction begins with 200 ships working simultaneously. 30 million cubic meters of earth and rock are dredged from 3 mountains across Japan and transported by barge. At its peak, the project consumes more steel than the Eiffel Tower, every week. On top of the reclaimed earth, a massive steel caisson seawall is constructed around the perimeter, the largest of its kind in the world. Inside, the land is raised and graded to specification. Then, the terminal rises. Renzo Piano's terminal is a marvel. The roof curves like an airfoil. No interior columns. The open plan makes passengers feel they are floating above the bay. The foundation uses 550 adjustable pillars beneath the terminal floor. If the ground shifts unevenly, engineers insert steel shims between the pillars and the structure to level it. They call it the most sophisticated foundation adjustment system ever built. The airport opened September 4, 1994, right on schedule. The ceremony is spectacular. The emperor attends. Global media floods the news. Headlines celebrate Japan's engineering miracle. Flights begin immediately. Passenger volumes exceed projections. But the settlement calculations, the ones the entire project rests on, were based on geological surveys taken at a handful of points across the bay floor. The engineers assumed the clay beneath the island was uniform. It was not. Beneath the southern end of the island, the clay is 20 meters deeper than anyone surveyed. The models never accounted for it. The southern end presses down on a pocket of soft sediment that has no measurable bottom. The island has been open less than 6 months when the first warning signs appear. The sinking starts faster than any model predicted. In the first year after opening, the island drops 87 centimeters. The engineering forecast called for 50 centimeters over a full decade. The island overshoots that number in 12 months. Alarms go off inside the project office. Sensors embedded beneath the island floor register compression rates that match no pre-construction model. The clay is behaving differently under the island's weight than any simulation predicted. Then, a second problem emerges, one no one anticipated at all. The compression is not even. The northern end sinks at one rate. The southern end sinks significantly faster. The differential settlement creates a tilt. The runway, which must be perfectly flat for aircraft to land safely, is slowly developing a gradient from north to south. Aircraft cannot operate on tilted runways. If the differential continues, the airport faces a fundamental safety crisis. Engineers deploy the 550 adjustable pillars. Workers crawl beneath the building and insert precisely machined steel shims under each pillar to counteract the tilt. The process is slow, expensive, and it must be repeated because the ground does not stop moving. Then, the seawall shows its first crack. The perimeter caisson was designed for a specific range of stress loads, but the differential settlement pushes the structure sideways in ways the design never accounted for. Inspection teams find stress fractures along the southern wall segment. Not yet dangerous, but a warning. The bridge adds a third problem. The Skygate Bridge runs from the island to the Osaka shoreline. When the island was built, the bridge was calibrated to its height. As the island sinks, the bridge connection point drops. The northern span, attached to the mainland, stays fixed. The southern span, attached to the island, keeps descending. By the late 1990s, the bridge deck has a visible drop of nearly 1 full meter between its two ends. The road surface buckles at the joint. Engineers install a flexible transition joint. But every time the island drops further, the joint needs adjustment. The airport handles over 20 million passengers in its first 5 years. Flights run normally. Passengers have no idea the ground beneath them is in constant motion. To the outside world, Kansai Airport is a triumph. Inside the engineering offices, no one is sleeping. 05. Escalation. By the year 2000, Japan's economic miracle is over. The bubble economy collapses in the early 1990s just as Kansai Airport opens. Banks fail. Real estate crashes. The government hemorrhages money. And into this fiscal disaster lands the news that Kansai Airport is going to cost far more than anyone admitted. The original construction budget was 1.5 trillion yen. By opening day, it has already climbed past 1.7 trillion. By the late 1990s, it crosses 2 trillion. The sinking adds continuous operational costs on top. Every year, hundreds of pillars are adjusted. Every year, the seawall needs reinforcement. Every year, the bridge joint needs recalibration. The debt is split between the national government and a private operating company. The private company was supposed to eventually pay off its share through passenger fees and commercial revenues. But the debt load is crushing. Passenger numbers fall short of the aggressive 1980s projections. The company falls behind on repayments. Interest accrues. The debt compounds. Then the government decides to build a second island. In the late 1990s, with the first island still sinking and finances deteriorating, planners approve a second reclaimed runway. A second island, parallel to the first, will add capacity and justify the infrastructure investment. Critics are furious. The first island is not stable. The operating company is functionally insolvent, and the government wants to pour more money into the same bay floor. Construction of the second island begins in 1999. It costs an additional 1.1 trillion yen. The total combined cost eventually reaches the equivalent of $20 billion, more than double the original estimate. The political pressure builds. Opposition lawmakers publish reports detailing the sinking rates. Journalists run investigative features. The term sinking airport becomes a recurring headline. Government ministers face questions they cannot answer. The Ministry of Land and Transport commissions a comprehensive review. The review confirms what engineers already know. The island will not reach geological stability for another 50 to 100 years. Clay compression will continue for decades. There is no fix. There is only management. Management means money. Permanent, recurring, escalating money. And then a storm arrives that turns a chronic problem into an acute catastrophe. In September 2018, Typhoon Jebi, the strongest typhoon to hit Japan in 25 years, makes a direct strike on Osaka Bay. The storm surge hits the airport with a wall of water 2 meters high. The island has almost no margin left. The floodwaters hit Kansai Airport on September 4, 2018. 24 years to the day after the airport opened. Typhoon Jebi pushes a storm surge across the bay at wind speeds exceeding 215 kilometers per hour. The seawall, weakened from decades of differential settlement stress, holds on the windward side. But water pours over the southern perimeter, where the island has sunk lowest. The runway floods. The terminal floods. The basement mechanical systems, electrical switchgear, baggage handling, communications go underwater. Power fails. Then a tanker ship loses its moorings in the storm and drifts directly into the Sky Gate Bridge. The collision tears through a section of the bridge deck. Both road lanes are destroyed. 3,000 passengers and airport staff are now stranded on a sinking, flooded island with no road access, no power, and communications going dark. The government declares an emergency. Coast Guard vessels mobilize. The Self-Defense Force dispatches rescue helicopters. It takes 2 full days to evacuate everyone from the island by sea. The images broadcast across Japan are devastating. Water across the runway. Planes sitting in floodwater. The bridge visibly broken. The terminal dark. The cost of the typhoon damage is estimated at over $2 billion on top of an airport that already costs billions to maintain annually. The political crisis is immediate and fierce. Opposition parties demand a full public inquiry. Why was the seawall not built higher? Why was drainage capacity not upgraded after years of warnings? Why was there no emergency bypass plan? Why, after 2 decades of watching the island sink, did no one add margin for exactly this scenario? The minister responsible for infrastructure faces Parliament. His answers satisfy no one. The airport closes for 2 weeks. When it reopens on one runway only. The second runway, the expensive one built to justify the second island, remains closed for months. Japan rebuilds. That is what Japan does. The bridge is repaired in 6 months, a feat that would take other countries years. The seawall is reinforced and raised. Emergency pumping systems are upgraded. New flood barriers are installed at vulnerable perimeter points. The terminal basement is waterproofed and hardened. The airport reopens to full operations by early 2019. Passenger numbers recover. The second runway comes back online. On the surface, Kansai Airport looks functional again. But the island keeps sinking. The post-typhoon repairs do nothing to address the geological reality beneath it. Clay compression continues on its own geological timeline, indifferent to human schedules or budgets. The differential settlement between the northern and southern ends has now produced a total tilt of over 3 meters since construction. The pillar adjustment program operates year-round, but the pace of shim insertion barely keeps up with the rate of movement. The debt situation worsens further. Kansai International Airport Company is merged with Osaka International Airport to create a joint operating entity. The restructuring uses Osaka Airport's profits to service Kansai's enormous debt. The national government provides additional loan guarantees. In 2016, French company Vinci takes a stake through a long-term concession deal, a partial privatization designed to bring in outside capital. The money buys time. It does not solve the problem. Geologists refine their long-term forecasts after the typhoon. Current projections estimate the island will continue active settlement for another 30 to 50 years minimum. Total subsidence since construction now exceeds 3.5 meters on the southern end. The island was built to accommodate a maximum of roughly 12 meters of total settlement before critical infrastructure reaches unsafe levels. At current rates, that margin is consumed within this century. There is no published plan for what happens then. The government has not released one. The airport authority has not released one. When journalists ask directly, they receive answers about ongoing monitoring and adaptive management. The island sinks 3 to 5 centimeters every year. Every year. Tonight, somewhere over Osaka Bay, a flight is landing at Kansai International Airport. The runway is level. The lights are on. Passengers disembark and walk through Renzo Piano's beautiful curved terminal. They pick up their luggage. They walk to the train. They cross the bridge to the mainland. They have no idea that somewhere beneath their feet, a team of engineers is inserting steel plates under a concrete pillar to compensate for another millimeter of movement. They have no idea that this airport, built as a permanent symbol of Japanese ambition, has a finite lifespan measured in geological time. $20 billion, 30 years of constant intervention, a storm that nearly ended it all. And still no answer for what comes next. Japan built an airport on the ocean to escape the impossible. So tell me, When you build the impossible, who decides when to stop paying for it?